Hey, District 2 sports fans, it's Gregory here, and I want to tell you about our new sponsorship here. If you're looking to make your business stand out, you've got to check out Chaos Cartel Company. They specialize in custom shirts, hats, tumblers, banners, and so much more. And the best part, there's no minimum order, and their pricing is amazing. I should know because we have a few shirts from them. Whether you're a small business or just looking to get some cool merch, Chaos Cartel Company is here to help. They love working with other businesses to bring your brand to life. If you want to get started, give them a call at 434 489 6123 or shoot them an email at chaoscartel1, and that's the number one, at gmail.com. Chaos Cartel Company, making your business look good, one custom piece at a time.
You are now listening to the District 2 Sports Podcast, available on all your favorite music apps. Like and subscribe.
It's the District 2 Sports Podcast, and we're back with another exciting episode. Tonight, we are in Highlander heaven, as the fans call it. This is our second trip to Glenvar. We spoke to Brody Doyot back in the summer, I think around July 4th or so. If you have not listened to that one, please go back and listen to it. It was a great one, talking about Brody's time there at Glenvar and his whole recruiting process. And just to let everybody know, he actually got an offer from UVA, so we'll actually be talking about that with Coach Clifford as well. But before we get to that interview, I did want to let all of our fans know who are listening, we'll have a live show again on this Sunday. This is our high school football, ODAC football, kind of just a little bit of everything preview for the season. We'll have games on Saturday to review at week 0, and then we'll talk about week 1 as well. Another cool thing we're doing, we do this every year, is a college football pick'em. Um, Look at our Facebook page. We have it advertised on there. It's been a little small community, but we're going to open up to the District 2 sports fans. So please join, get in your picks in before Saturday. I think the first game is Kansas State and Iowa State there in Ireland. So get your picks in there. This year we'll be featuring more ODAC, D2, D3 schools as well, make it a little bit fun. So please join that. And who knows, maybe we'll do a little giveaway, whoever wins at the end of the season, some merch from the District 2 Sports Podcast. So come out and hang with us on Sunday as we will have our live show. It will be broadcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, I believe. So you can comment on each one. Join us, say what you got to say. If we say something wrong, let us know. But we'll have our preseason top 10. We'll review our top 10 from last year and then get a new top 10 in for this season. I believe games kick off on the 29th of the regular season. There's another week of benefit games this Friday or tomorrow, actually. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the season goes. But yeah, continuing our preseason preview with Roanoke, Lynchburg, and Danville area teams. So we have a lot more stuff coming up. Work on an ODAC season preview as well. So we have not coach, or Commissioner Bankston on Friday. Then we'll kind of mix and match that with the coaches around the ODAC. Expect a great time there. But yeah, we continue to hit the podcast hard. We're so thankful for you guys for listening. As I mentioned before, we're close to 10,000 listens, so we appreciate that. Over 500,000, views and visits on our websites, on social media. So we do appreciate all of you. Thank you for liking, retweeting, sharing everything that we do. So we do appreciate this. Again, we are a no budget podcast, so we do this all part time, and it's just for fun. So we do appreciate you guys. And as I mentioned in our previous episode with the Danville teams or Pennsylvania County teams, we're looking for a sponsor. If you know somebody who has a small business or something, uh, even commercial or corporate, whatever it might be, you know somebody who's looking to, might be able to sponsor us, let us know. We're trying to do some improvements, get to more gains, improve our streaming, because we want to make this a weekly show, a weekly live show, so we can get you guys interacting with us. So, but for the interview, you'll hear Coach Clifford talk about, last season, all the runs that Glenvar has had in the postseason. I mean, he's been there for years, and um, they're always right there, either in the state championship, semifinal, region play, whatever it is. He has his boys playing and playing deep into the postseason. So we'll talk about that. He talks a little bit about his faith as well, something that we have shared on this podcast before as well. And then kind of looking to this year. So we do appreciate the Glenvar Highlanders. Again, you guys did great. Listen to that Brody Doyat interview. But enough of me talking. I know you want to hear the interview, so we'll get to it now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a real treat for you tonight. And the more I get the chance to talk to this young man, the more I learn and the more I like. And so I want to let you guys know that it's a pleasure to host Mr. Kevin Clifford, the head football coach at Glenvar High School. And Coach, I don't mind saying this because I'm a Christian too, and the more we talk, the more I learn about you, and I love you as a football coach. I love what you've done with your program, and I even love you even more knowing that you do follow Christ on a daily basis. So thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we look forward to spending a few quality minutes with you. So thank you so much tonight.
Well, it's certainly an honor and a privilege, to be on your podcast or on your show. And, I appreciate it as a coach and as a football fan and someone who loves kids. And the more we can recognize our kids um, and help them, really. And I think this is kind of a medium to do that as well. But, and I appreciate your kind words. I'm blessed and fortunate. And, I've just been so blessed to have the relationship I have with Jesus. And, I've got a wonderful wife and who's saved and my children. And I've just been, it's overflowing is really what it is. And, at the end of the day, like I said earlier, it's really about, coaching and doing what you do. It's about our relationships and the interactions and how we treat each other and treating each other with love and respect and dignity. And sometimes that means holding people accountable, but it's an honor to be here. So thanks so much for having me.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, and I don't mind testifying for just a moment and letting you know that I'm 58 years old. It probably took me 50 years to really be serious and not play that game where I need him this day and this day, but I don't need him the next day, And during these two boys of mine's lives, I've kind of played that game along the way, and I don't mind telling anybody that. I just know that he is well looking past all that and has given me a really great opportunity to continue on and live in the everlasting. So I can only appreciate that from him. But listen, Coach, I know that you're pretty busy and football season getting ready to start. And I failed to mention, and we went back and did some record searching a little while ago, and we talked a minute about this, but I think you are currently sitting at 148 and 63. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, I knew about Glenvar, kind of growing up, but I didn't know that much. And what a history. I mean, this is your 19th year, and, it looks like it's not what a rebuilding, it's just reloading at Glenvar.
Well, I mean, it's not really about me. We've had some great kids, some really good players. I mean, and really good coaches. We've had several, I think 6 of our assistants have gone on to be head coaches and successful. Coach Wilkins at Christiansburg did a great job building that program back after Coach Cromer, resigned. But we've just been really blessed to have good players, good kids that want to work and that have bought into kind of a, lunch pail, not to take Tech's, lightning, but, that kind of mentality. And, I never thought I'd be at Glenvar for 19 years, but, it's been a great place for me and my family. I got to coach all 3 of my sons. 2 of them got to play collegiately. One was a, really good player for Fairman. The other one played at UVA. And probably I don't know if that would have occurred if I wouldn't have gone to Glenvar when I did. And it was just kind of, it was just so happened to happen, if that makes sense. And my oldest son started dating his wife in 10th grade at Glenvar, and now they've been together 14 years and have 2 children. And I'm 58 as well. And, you start seeing the finish line. And I told my wife this morning, I don't really look at a finish line. I'm going to do this until my health gives out or I just don't love doing it. But anyway, thanks again for doing this and for having me on.
Well, Coach, I wanted to You mentioned that you've been the head coach there at Glenvar for 19 years. I'm sure you've been around the game of football for even longer than that. But I want to ask you, since the time you started, how has the game changed and how has the athletes changed from then until now?
Oh, I could probably write a dissertation on that, in all honesty. And I really think the best coaches in my career. So I've been coaching for 36, and um, I coached 35 and then coached in college for a year and played. Was fortunate to play in college, um, and grew up in Florida and played high school football in Florida and coached for 6 years in South Florida. But whatever. But I think parenting has changed. I don't think kids have changed. I think parenting has changed. I think there's some contributing factors right now. If you look at where the game is, I think COVID's played a really detrimental part in not only football, but in society in general. We could talk about the divorce rate amongst middle class Americans, and why that's affected middle class. Middle class America is being squeezed out. I mean, blue collar factory workers, construction. People that are that are professionals. I hate to say they're not professionals. The guy's a plumber. He's a professional. Same thing with an electrician. Those are very difficult trades to master, and those trades have been squeezed out in our country. Obviously, we've gone abroad with everything else. That's a slow impact. And so, if you look at our numbers, why they're declining, I think that's one. If you look at the stickball sports, baseball and softball, traditionally in our country, those numbers are down amongst middle class. And so, COVID again, third, fourth, and fifth graders didn't play rec sports. They were locked in place in front of a screen for a year. Didn't have any outdoor activity hardly. It was taboo to go out in public. And those kids are ninth, 10th, and 11th graders now in high school across the country. So why are those numbers down? If you look at urban settings, I don't think the numbers are affected, at least in a football and basketball perspective, as they are in rural and suburban districts. And I think COVID's a big reason for that, but I think the divorce rate is too. Um, Baseball's become all about travel. Well, now that's an elitist sport because it costs a lot of money to travel. So anyway, there's a lot of reasons. Do I think the game has changed? Absolutely. Kids aren't as tough. You know why they're not as tough? Because mom and dad don't make them go out and pick weeds or mow the grass or clean the garage. We put a screen in front of them. It's convenient. It's babysitting like. Kids aren't allowed to fall down and get a scrape on their knee. And, yada, yada, yada. There's a lot of reasons. And you all are, you do this, and I'm sure talk to a lot of people and kind of see the same things.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you something. I like you even more now because these boys never cut the grass. I'm messing with you. No, no, I'm the same way. I just didn't preach participation trophies. I'm sorry, coach. I just don't believe in that.
Oh, I'm
And
with you.
I just
Well,
of course
everything.
you want everybody to participate, but golly, I mean, why do you reward 10th place out of 10th place? I mean, why? I mean, I don't get that. I've never gotten that.
Well, and not to cut you guys off. I mean, I'm 100% with you. I just think, you know, being told no is a good thing. Losing is a good thing. These are setbacks, adversity are good things. This is what makes us stronger. I mean, and if you look at competition, and going back to how you started your podcast is, you know, this is all about competition. If you believe in Christianity or Judaism or even Islam, you know, this is about good and evil. This is about the competition for your soul. And if you believe that biblically, then everything's really about. Hey, look, if you want to marry someone, there's competition out there for, maybe there was several people that liked your wife, and she had a choice to make, and you were competing against other. If you don't believe in religion, the big dog eats and the little dog get ate. Gets eaten. So
Yes,
um,
sir.
we've really gotten away from that. You're right. Just like in school academically, everyone, you don't. There's no. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. You get a lollipop and a. Don't do that again, honey. Go back to class. I know you told the teacher off, but that's okay, because we are so scared of litigation. Look, the bottom line is, I think you guys know this more than anybody, but um, look, there's consequences for every act, and they're positive and negative, but there has to be. And so we've gotten away from that. And I agree. Not everyone gets a ribbon and a trophy and a piece of the cake at the end. And losing's okay, and that's what makes us better. I think adversity makes us stronger. I think that's not an epiphany. That's just common sense, and I think it's been well said for generations.
Coach, I don't know if we could have coached together because let me tell you why. These boys always ask me, Dad, why didn't you coach high school sports? Why didn't you coach this? Why didn't you go to college? What? I don't know if, if I would have been coaching football or baseball, I don't know if I would have had 22 kids to put on the field or 11 to had to play both ways. I don't know if I could have fielded a team because of what you just said. I mean, I just don't believe. I think have to put the work in and you have to earn your position, your playing time. That's just the way I've always been. That's the way I was always taught. That's the way I always played. So I just don't believe in, hey, I played football in eighth grade. I should be starting as the quarterback in on the varsity team. I just don't believe in that kind of philosophy.
Well, I mean, going back to the question though, as far as the game, is I'm going to circle back to that, but it's changed, and so you adapt. Nick Saban did, and I know Joe Paterno. I hate to, because a lot of people there's so much negative connotation with him, who I loved growing up and when I was in college and as a younger coach. But he adapted, and that's why he was so successful through so many decades. Nick Saban did it. You can't obviously you have your standard and your expectations, and they never change. But learning to deal with today's kids is different than it was in 1990 when I started coaching high school, and so, you have to adapt and you have to adapt your scheme. I mean, there's been years in 2012, our quarterback threw for over 2,200 yards and 30 touchdowns. In 2017, our running back ran for 2,700 yards and 43 touchdowns. Last year, our quarterback threw for 3,000 yards and 49 touchdowns, passing touchdowns. So you adjust. I think the best coaches learn to adjust. And you have to be willing to, in today's game, I think you have to adjust. And if you're not willing to do that, it makes it very difficult to maintain and be successful. But going back to your point, being tough, there's a certain things you don't change with expectations. I firmly believe that, kids want to be disciplined. They want to be told what to do. And when they're not, and this is society in general, there's a reason why we have laws and rules. And I taught driver's ed forever. There's a reason why we have laws on the roadways. Without it, it's chaos. And again, biblically, we know that's Satan's great plan is to create as much chaos as, and we're seeing it played out in front of us. The story you were telling me earlier. I mean, it's played out right in front of us. And what is my role in that? It's not much of a role, but you try to teach people stick to itiveness and accountability. And it's funny because my brother sent me this text today or this thing on Instagram. I don't know what it was. I'm not on social media, but it was on his Instagram. Everyone wants to get strong, but no one wants to be sore. And how true is that? Everyone wants to get big in the weight room, but they don't want to pay the price to get big. And what we found and what we're finding is there's too much enabling, too much babying, and you're going to hurt some. You're going to have sore shoulders and fingers and knees, and you're getting bruises, and you got to suck it up a little bit, and you got to grind and just find a way and be mentally tough. We know mental toughness certainly precedes physical toughness in every aspect. So anyway, my mouth will run like like a duck through a egg. So
We love that. We love it when we can ask a question and you can go on about it. But let me, I know your boys, meant a lot to you playing there at Glenvar, and I find myself on Friday nights, and I told you a little while ago, I've adopted Glenvar as my team. I'll let everybody know that for this upcoming year. So you probably see the big ball head guy at the game every once in a while. So I just want to let you know that, Coach.
no,
But I just want to ask you, and I'm sure you're well aware, we hosted Brady earlier this summer, and Brody earlier this summer. My fault. And what a joy. I mean, I told him I think I've been watching him for the last 10 years. So but I find myself on Friday nights if I'm not, at your ball game or near your ball game, I'm trying to find, when the highlight for Glenvar comes up on channel 7 or 10 or Jermaine at Fox or SET, and what does he bring or what does he mean to you and your program there now, especially with this being his senior year?
well, first of all, Brody's an exceptional young man. He's been raised the right way. He's got exceptional parents. And that's the most important thing. I mean, this is great. Football's great and all, and he's achieved some really cool accolades. But what do they really mean in 2 years or 1 year or 1 week or 10 years? It's really it's the development of your character and your integrity, and those are the values that are more important than rings and trophies and accolades. But he's an exceptional young man. He's very talented. Personally, I've been around the Florida Player of the Year. I've had kids that have played in the NFL for 12 years. I mean, we've been around some good players at Glenvar. Watching my son at UVA now, who's coached at Wake Forest, New Mexico, and at Utah State. If this is pre-portal, he's probably got every ACC school to offer him, but it's not pre-portal. So I think people have missed the boat on him. I personally think, and I don't think I'm far off by saying this, he's the best football player in the state of Virginia. I don't care what classification. He was all state. He just punted the ball the other day. He punted the ball today in the air, went 60 yards. Well, the other day he punted the ball in the air 70 yards from the snap. So he can kick the ball in the end zone as a place kicker. And we got a soccer player that's a really good player, football player that led us in receptions. That's going to be our place kicker probably. But All-State had 18 sacks and played about 60% of all the defensive snaps. Threw for 3,000 yards, ran for 700, had 61 total touchdowns. But you know what? The most important thing is he doesn't care about that stuff. He wants to win. Matter of fact, his freshman year, we had a kid coming back that had started a couple games as a true freshman. That's a freshman. We had a senior quarterback that had a great year that year. We were 11-2. And then the next year, Brody came in 22. And this young man, we loved. He was a middle school quarterback, backed up, started, won us 2 games, beat Radford on a touchdown. His name was Eli Taylor. And he ended up transferring and starting for Salem 2 years. Now he's at Roanoke College as a freshman. Great kid, great family. Dad coached with us. And Brody was clearly the better player. And Eli was an exceptional quarterback. And it was the most difficult decision I had to make in my coaching career because I loved Eli to death, still do. And it was a frustrating decision. Then Brody came and he said, "Coach, I'll play whatever because I play tight end." And I said, "Brody, that's not how I run the program." And so Eli ended up transferring, and the rest is history. But that's the kind of kid he is, and he's well loved amongst his teammates and peers. And to me, that matters more than whatever he achieves on the field. And at the end of the day, I think that'd be great if all of us could say that about one another. He's just such a great person, and instead we're going look at the media, look how we treat each other politically. It's disgusting. But anyway, great kid. You would love to coach him. So,
Well, I'm a firm believer that kids, take on the personality of their coaches. I'm a firm believer. At least the best ones do or should.
well, let me
And
stop right there because if he doesn't, he's going to be nuts. My wife would. So luckily, she's not out here listening to this. She doesn't. She'd probably say, "I hope he doesn't." But anyway, sorry.
no, but no, I just, and having him on and then you on and the stories will coincide because, the thing that I specifically asked him, coach, was, hey, you threw for over 3,000 yards. You threw for 40 some odd touchdowns, 49 touchdowns. I said, do you realize that if you throw for this and this next year that you're going to be atop of the record books and blah, blah, blah. And first thing out of his mouth was, I don't even keep up with that stuff. I didn't even know. I'm going fishing tomorrow, which was we talked to him on July 3rd. He was going fishing on July 4th. He was more worried about catching some fish on July 4th than anything. So, but at the same time, he was man enough to let us know and to let everybody know that, hats off to, I believe it was Graham that beat you guys in the state championship game. I think it
State
was,
semis. Yeah, they beat us in the state semis.
semis. Okay. But he was man enough to give credit where credit was due and said, hey, we really wanted to win that state championship. We just didn't have it that day, blah, blah, blah. And you got to appreciate kids like that. He's a well-oiled machine and a well-oiled kid is all I can tell you.
Well, yeah, we're definitely blessed to have him. That is for sure.
Coach, I wanted to go back to last year's schedule, kind of look at, I think you guys went 12-2 there, losses to Allegheny, and of course, we talked about the semifinal loss to Graham, who went on to win the state championship. But you had some big wins there against Gretna in the playoffs, Floyd County, Martinsville. You also beat Radford in the regular season. But I just want to get your thoughts on last year and how has the team came out in the offseason kind of getting ready for this year?
I mean, you know as well as I do, like every year is a different ebb and flow, and you're as good as your last game, which we lost. So I never really, I think I've been pretty good at like cutting off. Like there's always a what if, so that's always going to nag at me. Like, what could I have done better, or what could we have done better? But you just try to move on. As far as last year, I mean, we did have some big wins, and we also had two tough losses. Like Allegheny went 11-1 and had a great year, and they'll be really competitive again this year. And I wish them the best. Graham was undefeated, so when you look at our two losses, I think the combined record was like 26-1 of the two teams we lost to. But so we're not losing the sisters of the poor, But I always want, when I knew I wanted to be a head coach or a coach when I was a little boy, and you always have a vision, and things don't always go as you want. And when I look back at last year and I compare it to this year, two different teams, two different chemistries. We lost some really good seniors, but we have a great senior class. We're a little short on linemen right now, but we'll figure that out. And that's the challenge of being at a small school. Our kids understand that we could have another special season, but they don't take it for granted because we don't really talk about it. Like, just my goal every day is just to get better and really just enjoy coaching each day. And then when we start tomorrow, there'll be problems tomorrow, and there'll be successes and failures, and you embrace both and you try to improve. And I think I think the best coaches and athletes in my experience, just focus on the now, the moment, and don't get caught up in the past or the future. And I think too much in life, we look forward or look back and we don't enjoy the present. And I think that's the true blessing of life and getting up in the morning and getting to take a deep breath, is that you have to enjoy those moments because they're fleeting. I mean, being a granddad, I mean, it's a game changer, man. I'm like, if I could spend every day with my grandkids, I would, and I'm doing it lovingly. But so I don't know if I answered your question correctly or not, but it's just a different challenge this year, and our kids have embraced it. Last year was last year, and we were fortunate to have, a really good year. It was the first region. We've been in the regional championship 8 out of the last 11 years and only won 2, so we've lost 6. And it's really hard to win. And Glenvar presents certain problems, that other schools may not have. But, that's an excuse too. We just try to make the most of what we have and enjoy it.
Well, Coach, you kind of answered my next question because I was going to ask you, you guys have been so close so many years after you won it in 2014. How hard is it getting back, and how does that affect, your psyche, kind of going to the next year? We've talked to a lot of coaches we talked to a coach at Mary Washington who made the national championship at Cabrini and has been back since, and just kind of, talking to him how that affects him each year. So, I mean, how do you deal with that going to, getting rid of last year and going to the next year?
I really think, there's a coach out there that a lot of people I don't think really truly understand, and it doesn't matter to him, and that's Bronco Mendenhall. I know how much, he's been great to my son, and my son's coaching for him, and played for him. But I've heard him say this, and I've said this my whole career as a coach, as an assistant and a head coach. It's really about the process. It's not about the end result, because the end result is going to be the end result. And there's a lot of intangibles that you just don't control. You really control, we control 2 things, and that's, how hard we work, our effort, and then our attitudes. And our attitudes can be affected, either way, positively or negatively, and what we allow, and that's a choice, optimism versus pessimism, and it's a choice. So the outcome will happen. I think it's just about the process. Look, I call ours, we're like juicers, man. We got to squeeze every ounce of their talent for us to be successful. And for the most part, the kids have done that. So again, I think it's about getting better every day and enjoying it. And then whatever the result is, accepting it. You don't always have to like it, but accepting it with a glad heart and with humility and graciousness, and moving on from it. Does it motivate me? Absolutely. I haven't lost that motivation. I hate to lose. I don't care about winning. I hate to lose. But do I act like a baby? I mean, I don't think I do. You go shake the other person. I went across and shook Tony Palmer's hand, and I congratulated Coach Palmer and his staff, and I was happy for them that they got to go on and achieve what they did. I was sad for our kids and for our staff, but there's people that suffer every day around this world, and I get to do something I love. Why would I ever really be upset about it?
Coach, I know you've had some other opportunities, and we talked to um, Coach Pope at Northside, in basketball. We've talked to Gary Hall, the new coach at Martinsville High School basketball. And, the one thing that I have told them, straight from the heart is, God, I can't even thank you enough for staying in the public eye or in the public programs in the public school system because I'm going to tell you the same thing. For 19 years, I'm sure you've had your other opportunities, and we talked a little bit about some of these other academies, your IMGs, your Montverde, stuff like that. Devin's well versed in some of these other schools, but when a coach goes there, I mean, what is the hardship? I know you're going to be playing a tough schedule. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I mean, you know, very few and far between is the hard times going to come. But I like I said, I can't thank you enough for sticking in there and hanging in that public system. But I mean, is there something that you have looked forward to as far as other opportunities, or is there maybe another opportunity in your future that you're looking forward to, or is it Glenvar and state championship or bust?
I don't think it's ever state championship or bust. I mean, have there been some things that have popped up? Sure, but the grass isn't greener. You trade one problem sometimes for another, and is it about talent chasing? You know what I mean? Because a lot of coaches do that, and I was fortunate when I met my wife and I moved this. I never thought I'd live in South Florida. I grew up in Orlando, and it was the first job I took in Dade County. I worked for one of my closest and dearest friends, who's been the head wrestling coach at University of Missouri for almost 30 years, and is really one of the most decorated Division I coaches in all sports. But um, you know, my brother-in-law played at St. Thomas Aquinas. I had an opportunity to possibly coach there with a guy that played at Alabama, and I actually went over to the West Coast to Fort Myers and coached with him for 2 years. And he and I still talk about 4 or 5 times a year. And he was an All-American at St. Thomas, and he played for Bear Bryant and coached at Florida State. And it's funny because small high school. I think if you've never coached at a small high school, you need to experience it because it presents problems that the other schools I was at, like in Miami or Fort Myers, where you had 3,000 kids and 200 or 150 kids are playing football, or even at PH when I was a head coach, we had 145 kids, with our eighth grade, our middle school freshman team, JV and varsity. And, it's a lot different. And when you're scratching your head going, how are we going to win with this group? You just figure it out. It's a small high school. I have a lot of respect for the coaches that have coached at small high schools, like Coach Ragsdale, Coach Williams at Giles, or Coach Lindenberg, and Coach Saunders at Radford, and I could go on and on with the coaches, Coach Turner at down in Southwest, and his son Tom Turner and his son. They're both great coaches, obviously, but I don't know. I mean, I just, for me, I love where I'm at. It's been a blessing. It's not easy, but that's the challenge too, and I'm grateful because again, my son doesn't meet his wife. I don't have these two precious grandchildren if I'm not at Glenvar. And I was a head coach at PH, and that was an ordeal that almost broke me as a person and a coach. But I won't go into details. But my middle son goes to Ferrum and starts 3 years, breaks every passing record at Ferrum. Had a great experience. Played for a guy I really loved. He was the head coach. He's now at Iowa State, Coach Rob Grandy. But he goes down there, and his roommate for 4 years, if you remember this name, Brian Mans. Brian was a stud 5,000-yard rusher at Giles, was a great high school player, one of the best I've ever coached against. Goes down to Fairman and breaks every record. They're roommates for 4 years. And then another Giles player goes down there, Austin Pendleton, and my son meets his sister and marries her. I mean, so the connections that I got because I'm at Glenvar, if it's for me personally, I can tell you without hesitation, this is where God intended me to be for those reasons. And so, yeah, the other stuff is great. It's flattering if someone wants to say something nice, and I'm grateful for that. But it really doesn't mean anything. Bottom line is, I'm happy where I'm at, and I've been really fortunate and blessed to have a lot of really great people around me. And I wish a lot of people. I hope a lot of people could say that about their careers.
Coach, I have some rat poison for you here. So, looking at next year's roster, or looking at next year's play, or this year's play, I guess. You return your defensive player of the year. You have your all-state linebacker. You have Brody, of course. on defense and offense. And Brody's talked about some of the guys at skill positions too returning. So, how good can this team be this year coming up? And also, how do you keep these guys in check? Make sure they're not, looking forward to the playoffs past with the first game.
Well, I mean, I just, like I said earlier, I just take it one day at a time. Like, I mean, it could fall apart in a New York second. Like, we have a great player coming back in Cooper Mullins who broke our school record at 66 catches. I moved him from running back to slot. We went to complete spread in game 9. We weren't even running a spread, maybe a quarter of the time. And then Cooper had 48 catches from game 9 to game 14, and he had 17 total touchdowns. So yeah, we got some good players coming back. But if anyone's sitting on our hands thinking we're going to roll out and beat people, we'll get our teeth kicked in. So again, I just think it's every day's a challenge, and you either rise to that or you melt. You're either gonna hit or be hit. I guess that's silly analogy in football, but I don't know. It's just a challenge. I'm not worried about what other people's expectations are because I know what they are. I know what mine are. I want to be the best. I want to put the best football team we can put out there, and whatever that ends up being, it's going to be. And if we stay healthy, which is a huge thing, and being healthy and hot at the end of the year is the most important thing. I can tell you, the best team I might have coached was 2015, and we were 12-0 and go down to Union High School, lose 28-27, get upset. Although they were undefeated, they had the Mitchell kid that played at Tech and is playing in the league, and so. I don't know. I just every year's a new challenge. I'm not worried about expectations but my own. I mean, if parents don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. Kid doesn't have to play, I guess. But and we don't get a ton of media attention. Who really cares anyway about Glenvar? We're out in the middle of nowhere. People don't even. I didn't even know where Glenvar was when someone called and said, "Hey, you need to apply for Glenvar." I'm like, "Where's that at?" So we've been. I don't think people. And you can put this. I hope this comes out right, but I got one of my parents, he owns G&H Contracting, which is one of the larger contracting companies in the Roanoke Valley. They're doing this beautiful sign for us, probably $75,000, $100,000 sign. We have 47 team state championships at Glenvar. 47.
Wow.
I don't know what other schools west of Lynchburg have that many, or maybe west of Richmond. 47 team state championships. I've been fortunate to be a part of 3 of them as a wrestling and football coach, but I mean, 47. So we people call Salem title town, but really Glenvar's title town. Really, I mean, in every sport, I think the only sport we haven't won it in is cheerleading, and I think there's one other. No, I don't know if there's even. No, we've won. I think everything but cheerleading. So, like 22 varsity sports.
Well, Coach, we wanted to open up the podcast tonight. And I knew you would bring some new news about Brody's commitment or decommitment or something. I know, that he had committed to Charlotte, and then he was actually presented a scholarship from UVA. So, any new news on that front? And before you answer, I just wanted to let you know that the District 2 Sports Podcast has been working with a shampoo group to bring on some NIL money to Brody. We notified him of that during the summer. So I don't know if it's going to be Prel or Head and Shoulders, but we're going to find him a NIL deal with the shampoo group.
If that's serious, I need to know because we got to run that through. No, but that's funny. Yeah, he's got that. He's got that hair. It's pretty. Let me cut it. Let me shave it. No, Brody's fiercely loyal, and I can't really speak for him. I just know that right now he's firm on his commitment to UNC Charlotte. He's very grateful for the offer from UVA, and that may change. I don't know. We really haven't talked about it. He's grateful for Coach Lamb, the quarterback coach at UVA, who I know a little bit, great guy, but I don't know. I think he's going to Charlotte, but that's between him and his parents, and I'm out of the equation. If he asks my opinion, I probably won't even give it to him. I think that's one thing you pray about, and you follow your heart, and you do what your heart tells you to do. So.
Coach, looking at this year's schedule, or this season's schedule, you have a mix of 1A, 2A, and 3A schools. Kind of your thoughts on the schedule itself, and then also what's your philosophy when you're scheduling games? You're trying to get some upper level, 3A, 4A teams to play against, kind of get that, that matchup, get ready for the playoffs and whatnot. So I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, our district traditionally for years, it's been the 3 River district for years has been I think, one of the better districts in the state overall, and certainly in 2A. But we scheduled. We've played. I think this will be the 13th or 14th or 15th year I played Galax. I don't know. I think the 13th time. Great. They've been great. They won a state title 2 years ago. I think they're a little down and out right now. I don't know. I don't know how. I know that Shane, the coach, the previous coach, they got a new coach, Coach Reed, I think is his name. But it's been a great first game for us. They've been in the thick of the fight in single A for a long time. And then, we picked up, we play Liberty Bedford. They're in our region. Then we play Cave. They're 3A. They're right down the street. And we dropped Hidden Valley and picked up Northside, which is, 15 minutes down the street. Another, a lot of talent. They've got a great track record, been very successful. And then we get our district. We played Martinsville 2 out of the last 3 years in the playoffs. I played them in the regular season twice in 22 and 23, I think, or 21, 22, whatever it was. And of course, Radford is, Coach Lindenberg built that program. I think that's well documented. What a wonderful, like, if we all aspire in our careers to be like him, if we can be a tenth of what he was as a coach and a person, that would be an accomplishment in itself. Of course, Coach Cromer's a great coach. He's done a great job taking over Coach Beal, the legend. I love Coach Beal to death. He's such a good man. And so is Coach Cromer. Just our district's tough. I mean, we lost Allegheny, but we picked up Martinsville. Coach Fielder's done a great job. I'm sure they're going to be tough as pie not. So, of course, we got Gretna in the region, who's Coach Miller's a really good football coach, got a lot of talent, and has done a really good job of revitalizing the program. We've played him the last 2 years and been fortunate to come out on top, but they're going to be tough. Of course, Dan Rivers always got kids, and it'll be interesting. Appomattox, my gosh, how can I forget about them? I mean, what they built. I mean, studs.
Coach, I'll be in Galax actually next weekend, the 22nd. I just figured out why I have to go next weekend, because the whole town of Galax will be in Glenvar the following weekend, the 29th. So we'll be playing golf at the Galax Country Club up there, or what do they call it? But anyway, Doug and Stacy Morgan host us every year, and she's a teacher's aide over at Galax. Is it a message I need to send to them next week when I go up?
Just tell them that not to beat us up. They're physical, tough, man. I mean, they are tough kids. It's always a battle when we play them, and it's a great first game. I mean, it's been a great first game for us over the years. And I haven't talked to Mark in a long time, Coach Dixon, but I loved coaching against him, and really just such a wonderful guy and coach. And Coach Allen did a great job. Well, he was obviously winning a state title 2 years ago. So yeah, they're tough. No, just tell them not to beat us up.
Coach, last one for me. When we put that Brody Doya interview out, a lot of the Glenvar community responded really well, and they really enjoyed it. And one thing they kept on saying was, "This is Highlander heaven." They kept on saying it over and over again. So if you could talk about that community, how supportive they are of the athletics programs there, and what is Highlander heaven?
Well, I mean, it's kind of it's funny you mention that, because I want to start a club starting tomorrow when we go back to school, and in the very near future, student led Christian organization called Highlanders for Heaven, similar to FCA. Before school, of course, not during school hours, because we can't do that. But it's really a unique place. It's a special, like, it unless you experience it. It's kind of hard to explain, to be honest. It's just there's a lot of community, and being a small school, or the smallest school in the in the Roanoke Valley, and very intimate. Everyone supports everyone else. Like our middle school coach, Josh Jones, football middle school coach, is also the head soccer coach, and they finished ranked 9th in the nation overall in the country in soccer. They were undefeated 2 years in a row. They've won 3 straight state titles. What he's done is amazing. Our girls soccer team's been in the Final Four 4 straight years, won 2 state titles. Swimming, tennis, we've all won state titles. Indoor, outdoor track. Softball's won 5, wrestling's won 5. And just supporting each other. And I really just, kids are different today a little bit. And again, I think this is, COVID has played a big role in this, but, just a love for kids and each other, and supporting one another, and representing Glenvar in first class manner, and for the most part that occurs. And um, at the end of the day, it really just boils down to relationships, and I can never say that enough. And I think we have it at Glenvar. Just we support each other.
Coach, I don't want to downplay anything whatsoever. I think what I'm going to do is maybe challenge some people out there. And Gregory hit the nail on the head with your community. And there are some communities around Pennsylvania County that get behind their schools. I know the Dan River community does, or the Ringgold community, as well as the Gretna community. Speaking of two that I know for sure. But, you know, the thing that we found out with this podcast is, we've even reached out to, and I didn't even have a clue that people from over in Graham are paying attention to the podcast and stuff like that. And, they've sent us messages as far as, hey, why don't you talk to such and such, talk to a player, talk to a coach, and the same thing for your area. And we cannot thank people enough for that because, the mode that we got into to begin with to start this thing off was to bring some kind of recognition to our local athletes, our local coaches, stuff like that. And I'll be quite honest with you. And like I said, this is a challenge not to downplay or come down hard on any community, but we've had the worst time basically having the Danville community get involved with this and we're a Danville localized podcast, and like I said, we appreciate your guys, your folks, your following to the nth degree, and we can't thank you guys enough. And I think that says something about the program that they're following and the guy that heads the program up. So thank you, Coach.
Well, it's very kind of you to say. And Dan Rivers got great. Coach Edmonds was a great guy. I enjoyed getting to know him. Obviously, we coached against his kids, and they were studs, obviously. But it's tough. And I think it boils down to, I think we talked about inclusion earlier. Like, I want to be inclusive. Like, I don't want to just, not everybody gets a trophy, but I want people to want to be involved with what we do. Does everybody feel that way? No, you're not going to make everybody happy. But, I interviewed for the Gretna job, by the way, when Thurman got it after Senseney left. And I knew he was going to get it over me because he was on the staff. And I thought, and I was willing to move. I thought, potentially, and of course, Coach Miller's done a wonderful job of, kind of reestablishing it. I think Gretna's a great community. I loved playing there 2 years ago. I know they were unhappy that we beat them on the last play of the game on a goal line stand, but not to go off again on a tangent. But we're just fortunate at Glenvar, and I know Coach Palmer gets a lot of support in Bluefield, and rightfully so. They're the best program in 2A in the state right now. There's no one better. So, I think you have to give people an opportunity to want to support you by how you interact in your community. And I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer for that with any program and in any community, but winning is the essential key. I mean, no one's going to support a team that doesn't win. So.
Well, Coach, I know we kept you way long tonight, but just one more. So, a broad question here, but what does Glenvar need to do? What are the keys to success for the next season coming up?
I mean, that's a great question. Number one, we have to be healthy. Number two, our kids have to be coachable. They have to take hard coaching and understand that, I always tell players, if a coach doesn't coach you hard, that means he doesn't probably love you. And we want to love on our kids and treat them right. And sometimes, kids don't feel like that occurs, but we got to be healthy. We got to focus on the things that we can control, which again are the two basic things: effort and attitude. We can't focus on other teams and what they have or what they don't have, or how good or how bad they are. We can't focus on the weather, the officiating, or where the ball bounces. Just focus on getting better and take one day at a time and enjoy the ride and never look beyond the next day. And I think if we do that, most of the time, if you work hard and do it the right way, try to be a good person, try to treat your opponents and the people around you with respect and dignity, normally good things happen. It's not a guarantee, but more times than not, good things happen. So hopefully that'll be the case with our kids in our program this year.
Absolutely. Well, we're expecting big things out of the Highlanders this year, and I know that y'all will make a deep run in the playoffs, knock on wood. So Coach, we just want to thank you for your time and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you got fall camp right now and everything. So just want to thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, again, it's been a pleasure, and thank you both for doing this and bringing this to the public, and I know I appreciate it. Oh, excuse me, and I know our kids do. So thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Coach. You heard it from Kevin Clifford, coach of the Glenvar Highlanders. Thank you, Coach.
Y'all have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you again to Coach Kevin Clifford there at Glenvar High School. They will have a benefit game tomorrow against Blacksburg at home, and they will kick off the season on August 29th against the Galax Maroon Tide as they look to get back to the state tournament and hopefully get over the top there in Brody's last season. And like I mentioned before, please join us on Sunday if you're able, starting at 8 p.m. We'll be doing our high school football live show. We'll be streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And a lot of content coming out for football season. We're very excited, and hopefully have a full list of interviews and players come August, September, October, November, and December. So, and then we'll get into some basketball stuff. So we appreciate you always. Thank you guys, and have a good night.